together, and the Vancouver Food Policy Council. Thank you so much. This is amazing. I'm Sharon from the Vancouver Farmers Markets, and I'm going to take you back to Grandview Woodlands, where we all started back in 1995. And as Diane also pointed out, Diane was there in the early days, and so many people here were there in those early days. Started out when the community wanted more access to local fresh food, and that year in 1995 in July, first farmers market was launched in a parking lot at the Croatian Club, and did so illegally because there was a bylaw prohibiting vending on private property. But to this day, the Trout Lake Farmers Market is going strong in East Van, and it is supporting farmers and helping farmers in the city and in the country earn a living and keep farming the land. To this, right now, in 2011, we run 6 neighborhood farmers markets throughout Vancouver. We just opened our most recent one in Kerrisdale. And we run a holiday market once a year, and we also run a winter farmers market from November until April, just out in front of Nat Bailey Stadium at Raleigh Park. One of my most favorite markets, in fact, I think our most beautiful market, is the West End Farmers Market. It is our second oldest market. It's about 14 years old, and it is on a street closure on Comox Street in the West End, right near the Dr. Peter Center, and right in front of Mole Hill Housing and the park. And this year, we started up a great program, a food scraps drop spot there, which the West Enders are so loyal to that they have brought in over 3,000 pounds of food scraps for composting. And support awesome and in addition to that, it's a market that we're so proud of because that market, probably 90% of the people who come to that market, it's about 2,000 people on market day, are from the West End. They're walking in and they're from the West End. They're very, very loyal. And we have a number of small processors who literally do their processing and walk down to the market with their products and sell to their community. So a lot of small businesses have started there as well because of the farmers market and the community involvement there. So I encourage you to look for your farmers markets in your neighborhoods and support them. And if you're looking to set up a farmers market in your neighborhood, come and talk to us. We always want to hear from you. I get to introduce Randy Helten today. Randy is from the West End Neighbourhood Food Network, and this network was created just this year, in 2011, to support anything related to Vancouver's West End and food. Whether it be a compact, whether it be community gardens, community kitchens, et cetera, they're there to support that. And the West End is known as a compact urban community of nearly 50,000 people, high density, compact community. The Food Network is interested in the entire food cycles, as I said, so gardening, growing, cooking, enjoying food, recycling, composting, and more. Randy Helten is on the steering committee and has been working on social, environmental, and sustainability issues for over 20 years. Randy.
Good evening, thank you very much. To advance the discourse about the right. So let's see. Thank you for the introduction. And our West End Neighbourhood Food Network is brand new, and we're not doing much stuff hands-on. There's a lot going on in the West End already. And I think the main message of this presentation is that we just like to promote everything and support everything that's to do with food. So just backing up, about 10,000 years ago, the whole lower mainland was covered with ice. And for the last 8 millennium or so, the First Nations people lived here, and they sustained themselves with all the food that they got from the oceans and the land. Then when the Europeans arrived also, they were provided a lot of their own food. In the West End, there's this area around Ada, about a population of about 50,000. If you count the whole downtown peninsula, I think it's 100 or 150,000 people. And you notice that it is a peninsula with a little land bridge. If there was ever a big earthquake and the bridges were down, we would have to sustain ourselves and support ourselves, probably without too much support from the mainland. So there it is again. Also, you'll see that in the West End, a large proportion of people live in apartment buildings. Single-family dwellings with gardens are very rare. So there are rooftops and so on, and we'll cover that more in a minute. The Vancouver Food Chart is actually quite inspiring for the stuff that we're doing, and it's nice to see that. So we're, as mentioned originally, we're interested in the entire food cycle. Gardening, growing, cooking, enjoying, recycling, composting, and more. Start with a person like that, and the idea is just to look at everything through the lens of food and see what happens. So on the production side, there are already a lot of people. There's community gardens that are supported by, for example, the West End Residents Association, and I've got some pictures of community gardens in the West End going on. People are growing on their balconies, and I think there are some rooftop gardens as well. Close to the West End, there's the YWCA rooftop garden, which is producing a couple tons of food every year. And we're hoping that through this network can get people interested and go on tours to find out what's going on. And perhaps also get some model projects. There's a lot of, in apartment buildings, rental apartment buildings, possibly to make deals with the owners of the buildings so that that the renters can actually use the space around the building. And if we get a few model projects going, then that could be replicated around the community. I just did a quick calculation, but if there's about 50,000 people in the West End, that comes out to probably between 15 and 30 million kilograms of food coming in every year on the bridges into the West End. It's then consumed, and it ends up going out as sewage or compost or being trucked out. And it was really good to see just recently at the farmers market that there was a composting project going on, the trial project, which is ending this month. But we hope that it'll be able to continue somehow. I'd like to point out also, the West End is actually quite an interesting case study because a lot of the world is going from rural to urban, and with the West End being very densely populated, it's got even more population in North Vancouver and West Vancouver. And if we can find ways to, with model projects and with this stuff that's going on right now, find ways to promote more awareness of food and more production of food, that we can actually have a lot of lessons that we can share with the world, I think. Speaking with the guy in charge of the rooftop garden at the YWCA, found out that there's master gardeners in the region, in the West End, that could be great resources for the rest of the community. And also, one thing is that compared to other parts of the city that have a lot more single-family buildings, there are a lot of microclimates in the West End because of a lot of tall buildings. There's 80 or more tall apartment buildings. And so there are certain types of vegetables that will grow very well with the lighting and the type of soil that's there. With a kind of a network, it would be possible to share that kind of information and maybe have certain types of vegetables will grow better in a certain part of the community. I was just going to show a bunch of pictures. These are also, a lot of these are supported by the Vancouver Parks Board, which the West Enders really appreciate. This is in Nelson Park Community Garden, the farmers market, which was mentioned a few minutes ago. Some people are actually farming right on the boulevard there and producing some vegetables. There's a lot of, if we think outside the box, there's also a possibility, I think, to grow on some vertical spaces like fences and so on. There's also a lot, in the West End, the urban design has a lot of space between the buildings. So, as I mentioned earlier, it might be possible to do more gardening between the buildings, like this. There's also, through this network that we've had recently, in the last couple of years, a lot of workshops hosted by Robin Wheelers with Edible Landscapes, and in cooperation with Village Vancouver, which has given us a lot of support, apartment gardening, and other workshops that have been held. I spoke to a gardener who installed this decorative landscape a couple of years ago, and he said he would be interested in doing kind of a model project for using the concept of edible landscapes. Western Residents Association has got a rooftop garden. along with other partners on the top of St. Paul's Hospital. Here you see a setting with a lot of tall buildings in the background. I mentioned the White Embassy rooftop garden. The YMCA also has a garden on the top. So we hope that the West End can learn a lot by communicating with other neighborhoods in Vancouver. The West End is a little bit different with its the type of population, highly urban, very dense population, but I think that there's a lot to learn and share. And that's it. Thank you very much.